a self count of 3, 2, 1. Panel, what is the motion with us today? It is the House would require all parents to set up a child trust fund as a precondition to having children. Now, the main stakeholders of this debate of this motion is naturally the children and the parents. Now, let me talk about some of the characterizations and where this debate is actually set. This debate is set in a country like India, where there is a dominance of middle class or economically weaker or below poverty line or people, and there is not a lot of population belonging to the very high class or rich people. And why is it and throughout the case construction of my side, it would be evident why this characterization is very necessary and why is it important for such a motion to take place, and why trust fund, mandating a trust fund to be built is important, is very important for such people who belong to the middle class or the below poverty line. Now, talking about this being a policy motion, how would this child trust fund be set? The child trust fund would be required to be built by the parents upon the when the child is born within 6-month period, and the government would provide a very easy and effective government portal, online portal, which would be having a tie-up with all of the local banks or of all of the major banks as well, to create this child trust fund. Now, what and there would also be offline centers, and obviously the parents can approach the bank to get this trust fund made for their child using the child's birth certificate. Now, why is this important? This becomes important because now there is a standardized and trustworthy solution for a scheme for parents to form a trust fund, uh, which uh, which involves government intervention and government reassurance to the parents, so that they can be assured that their money is not going to be lost, and it is not something that they that would be very used by the banks for their own incentives, and different banks are providing different policies for the same thing. Now, talking about why such a trust fund becomes important in a country like this. Now, there is a if talking about the economically weaker section, first of all, when the child is uh, when the child is uh, the economically weaker section of a society often faces this dilemma of they are constantly faced with day-to-day problems, and they often are unable to see for the long-term effects, or are unaware of the long-term responsibilities they have towards their child. Uh, this looks like they might be thinking a year or two ahead, but that is often the case that they do not think beyond, and they do not think of the responsibility towards a child when he matures. Now, they often also save money for their child, but it is for the wrong reason. For example, in rural areas or any of the backward areas, it is often for a female kid or for a girl, it is often the family often saves money as a as a safekeeping in case there is they need to pay dowry in the future, or for their girls marriage, instead of actually actually saving it for her education, etc. Now, this child trust fund would also create a incentive for the children in the case, for example, because this child trust fund would be okay, let me come to the basic definition of what would this child trust fund would entail. The payment, there would be a baseline value and a cap that would be decided by experts, and would be comprehensive of the family situation and family salaries, and there would be different serving differently to the different sections of the society, and it would could be adjusted for inflation. Also the baseline money can be paid within installments within a fixed period of time. uh, Now, this child trust fund would mature at the age of 18, uh, at the age of 18, where then the child can it matures, and the money would be given to the child. Now, for a girl, now this allows for the child to decide for themselves, because there is a they and not by the preconceived notions of the parents, if they saved it for their marriage or anything, but it provides an opportunity for the child to do what to go out in the world and make a career of their choice, or do or have some sort of financial resources to opt for something like this. Now it would also bring into light, uh, for example, it for the middle class, it would help in a financial literacy for those who do not make such child trust funds, and it also provides a very tax free solution and a very good incentive for the parents to put into this scheme, because now since there are no tax, and there obviously their money would be compounded, because there would be a sort of interest on this, the money that they put in, there would be an incentive for to go for the scheme. And now that it is mandated by the government, they would be better motivated towards financial literacy and their responsibility they have towards their child's future, and be forced to think in the long term rather than just short term goals. Yes, POI.
How you will
Yeah,
ensure?
how are you?
Okay, go Tejas.
Yeah, how are you ensuring that yeah, this policy is not having any administrative challenges and people won't try to escape this law of having this prerequisite thing?
Okay, so first of all, let me tell you that anything that is mandated by the law would be facing challenges. People would be trying to escape it. It is not exclusive to it, but that is should not be a deterrent to any policy which is good for the citizens of the country to be implemented. Now, going further with my speech, for the now for the middle class of those who are already interested in saving money for their child, this scheme is a very standardized and a very good scheme, because it is tax free and it is long term. The only thing being, uh, and it is a good scheme for them to invest in. Uh, 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 and also, uh, now focusing on how this scheme uh, would be so beneficial for the children themselves when they turn 18. It would be very when this scheme matures, they would have this certain amount of money in their hand which they could invest for their future. And this also in this scheme also raises further awareness, because it brings into light a very important issue for the country, especially a country like this. Further awareness about financial literacy uh, and a standard trustworthy scheme. Thank you. Isn't the time 7:20?
Yeah, yeah. So, OC, just let the timer go on till 7:20 mark. Speakers get 20 minutes of 20 seconds of time to wrap up their speeches. And also, like, don't interrupt during their speeches. I won't be noting down anything once the time is up, so don't worry about that. And speakers also, please keep a note that you don't go beyond 7:20 mark. I hope that's clear. Moving on to the LO whenever you're ready.
I'll take only 20 seconds.
Sure. Okay.
Cool. Cool. So, hello everyone. This is Priyanshu. I'll be going as leader of opposition. I'll be taking POI after the fifth minute, and preferred no preferred pronouns. With this, starting my case and opening case from upside in three, two, and one panel, as we haven't got any sort of characterization or any sort of likelihood of all of these their framings. Now we can't actually we actually have to prove, we actually have to do characterization from the side of op, that is our PS. So starting with this, what this actually in the status quo look like. In the status quo, when we see what we see in the status quo, when we see that people actually are opting out of parenthood. Why? Because of two major reasons. First, it is they are taking it as a burden for themselves, because they think it is a mere very much responsibility to begin with. And the people who are opting into the parenthood, it is largely mostly because they could talk about this developing, and in the context of India, if it is framed, it is because of the societal pressure and all of these reasons to begin with. Now I'll tell you in my speech how through their paradigm, this condition, this status quo, this problems, all these things also become worse. Understand, panel, what parenthood parenthood actually a choice of an individual, which means the parent, any individual, when voluntarily actually want to do parenthood, when he actually feels that he is actually capable, he's actually responsible enough for to do all sort of parenting, he should opt into it. He should not feel burden out of it. Now what is problem in their case? First, when they tell you that this will be a policy which will be set up by the government, and there will be a parents will be coming up. First, when what actually right the government has got to actually hinder the autonomy of these parents to begin with. Because why? How it is hindering the autonomy of the parents? First, because every parent wanted to a bringing of the child according to their choice. It is actually infringing their right to choice, their right to actually how they wanted to do a bringing of their child at the very first place, which is really bad, because when they are infringing their autonomy and agency of parenthood, it is actually, and even the government can't dictate these parents and can't impose all of these on all these on parents. But coming on to understand the nature of this, what this people actually looks in the status quo. We think the major, even it is set in the context of India, even I buy into their framing. The more and more people the parents are coming from the vulnerable and the marginalized communities. So what it means that the ability and the capacity to actively do funding in a considerable amount, which will be beneficial for the child after the 18 years, when the child will actually actually take advantage of all of these things, is actually very minimal, is actually very insufficient for these parents. Why? Because they are vulnerable, they are from a marginalized community, they can't actually afford to do actively give fund to all of this, because etc. It actually creates a burden on them. Why? Because in the status quo, when also in the status quo, their child security, child insurance already existing, and you are actually putting one more layer, one more extra thing, which is actually a burden for them on the financial level. It is creating a financial burden on them, which is very bad for the marginalized community. What impact it will generate? Impact it will generate the vulnerable marginalized community took the parenting as a burden, which means the future potential parents from the marginalized community will opt out of or government intervention is there. In their paradigm, they will make sure that these funds will be utilized in the manner which will be beneficial for the child, because they also recognize in the countries like India, in the rural areas, in the where the orthodox mindset also prevails in the parents, it can be the case that these all the child trust fund only for the use in the sake of dowry, even they create a fund out of it to begin with, which is actually so bad, because you are conforming, you are actually or asserting and considerably strengthening this mindset because of giving because of this mechanism to begin with, because they took also all of these things as an imposition. They don't take as a now parenting as a thing which they can cherish. They every time they took as a burden for themselves, which is so bad. Right now, after this, what they tell you that after there will be a financial literacy, all of these things only exist, only their benefits exist when all of these things will be accepted by all of these parents, which will be not because of their all of the interest, because now they are feeling three things. First, their aspirations as an individual, as a parent, also should be considered, which means when they actually doing actually amount actually will lead to saving of all of these things. Well, for that they have to sacrifice all of these their aspirations. They have to sacrifice the other aspirations which they actually feel. So this is so bad because now it is a burden, and this burden will lead to what? First, psychological stress. At every point when they actually will do all of these things, they feel psychological burden, psychological stress on them, which will increase their anxiety. Because why? Because it becomes a necessity for them. They can't actually opt out of all of this because it is become mandation by the government. And obviously it when this become mandation, people have a sense of fear. People have a sense of fear if they don't create this trust, which is very bad. Because now parenthood, and what harms it will generate on child will not actually get the proper and the sort of upbringing. Why? Because first the parent will do all sort of upbringing in the burden. Parent will consider it as a burden. That's why the child will not have a proper upbringing to begin with. Second, the child growth is also why. What's our alternative model looks like? It should be like this, that there should be active, there should be an active awareness that should be done. So even it is required, even it is beneficial for the child, you have to actually first aware those people that it is beneficial, it is required for the benefit of the child. Then after you can do come with a policy. Because if you don't do, actually it will take as an imposition, which is so bad. Secondly, also the alternative models, government to come with that sort of social security schemes, that through which the social fundamental needs of the child should be fulfilled. That is the actively job of a government, because gov also agrees on this fact. That is the moral obligation of the government, because government is a good actor according to them. Even government is a good actor, so government should directly create this fund, or create the better social security scheme for the child, which will be beneficial, won't be created a burden, and the child growth will be in a better amount. Because capacity of government at every point of time is more than the parents to begin with, and the parents resources are itself limited, which is also getting so limited, and vulnerability is also increasing. Why? So with this, at last, the more on this, and also last, the inflation is also rising. The because the capacity to do this is also very low on these parents. Proud of.
Hello, my mic isn't working, so can the runner please run the debate? Hello, hello.
Yeah, your like voice is a little low.
Hi, I'm just saying my Bluetooth isn't working. Can the runner please run the debate? Hello.
Oh, the runner here, I don't think.
All right, DPM, go on.
Yeah, okay. I will just go take 30 seconds before starting.
Hi, so sorry the runner's here.
Can we please have the timer?
Sure, yeah, sharing. Just a second.
Okay, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. So my name is Anish. I will be going as the DPM, my preferred pronouns are he and him, and I will take a POI after the third minute. With that being said, I would like to start my speech on the self count of 3, 2, 1. So, panel, the opposition claimed that there was a lack of characterization in our case. So, let us actually try to understand how the actors behave, what are their incentives. Then, actually, the likelihood of a person conceding into societal pressure into becoming a parent will decrease, because now they will have to actually understand that so many things are happening, and now they will have more reasons to maybe oppose and not become parents until they feel like they're better. Okay. Moving on to the concept of financial literacy, we claimed in our paradigm that because of these schemes, what is likely to happen is for the middle class and the lower class families, which do not have a proper understanding of financial literacy or financial planning, this sort of takes care for the long term needs of their child by the government. Because this is tax free, the parents would be incentivized to invest. And what is likely to happen? We can use these as platforms to dissipate information about financial literacy and financial planning for the parents. What this is likely to happen is that there will be better saving for the child by the parents. We also need to understand. So this also goes to key idea of why parents necessarily opting out of becoming parents is not a bad idea as such, because we have to understand all of this doesn't matter. If we have a child, the child is a new life. It is a life that deserves to be supported. It is a life that deserves to be flourished. And if it cannot be sustained and it cannot be supported properly, then it is better that the parents take their time and reevaluate before they engage, they become a parent and they engage into parenthood. There was also a claim by the opposition that this there would be financial burden on the parents and there will be psychological stress for them. Well, it was clearly laid out in our policy that the amount that needs to be set up for the trust would be moderated according to the income of the family, and as many buffers and relaxations would be allowed so that they can so that it becomes as easy of a process for the parent. The purpose of this policy is not to create unnecessary pressure on the parent. There might be some pressure, but that pressure is not necessarily bad if it results in a long term benefit for the child, which this policy is likely to do because of the reasons that we have stated so far. um, there was also a claim by the opposition that the government should set up social security schemes, but there was no proper mechanisms given by the opposition of what these should look like. Uh, we have free schools, we have ration cards, and everything; those exist. But still, private financing is something that is very important for parents to understand. And if they're not able to do this, this needs to be centralized at the government level so that children are looked after. And so the opposition doesn't really have any leg to stand on when they claim this, because they haven't explained this properly. Also, they had a claim that if parents consider it a burden, there will be a bad upbringing of a child. I This is, I don't understand. There is no linking that took place there. So that, and also the point of inflation, which was very clearly stated in our policy, that everything would be adjusted according to inflation and recessions, the floor and the cap of the policy, as we said. um, Now, also understanding, uh, so to summarize, we have to understand what is happening in our paradigm and their paradigm. In our paradigm, we have been able to put forward a scheme by which a long-term benefits for the child are taken care of. There's some amount of money that is saved for the child, and this money can be used by the child when they are an adult. This is less likely to, the impacts of this are that practices such as dowry and all are less likely to happen, and even parents becoming a parent out of pressure or out of a rush is also less likely to happen, because they're likely to become more considerate. This would be good for the child at overall sense, that even if we have less parents, still there's a better quality of life for the child. That is the most important thing that is happening in our paradigm. And in their paradigm, they haven't explained any of their social security schemes, or how any of the problems that exist in status quo, such as the needs of a child not being looked after, how are they accounted for in their paradigm. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, DLO going in like 30 seconds. Just give me 30 seconds. Yeah. Hi. Am I clearly audible? Can just someone confirm me?
Yes, yes.
Great. So Anisha going is yellow. I'll take 2 whenever. Just raise your hands. Do not verbalize it until I say so. Starting my speech in three, two, and one. I think it's very clear that the Gov tries to push this impact that child security and it will be better for child for this financial freedom and everything. I do not see how this policy is able to do because note panel that their mechanism and their legwork is so less they do not prove their arguments that they are never able to prove their impact that they try to assert. But what I'm going to prove here is how this impact is never happening when this policy is executed. Because understand the problem we do not have that you should not have savings account. The problem is the word preconditioning, which is to say that if our parent has to have a child, wants to have a child, how can you precondition it that you should have a bank account? Why is this a problem? Because in the very status quo that there exists a hierarchy of people, which is to say rich, middle class, and poor. When we have like this vulnerable state of people who are so poor or in minority, they have this less number of money, and they are also you cannot snatch away the choice of parenting when you just give this precondition. Because what will happen, what this looks like, understand, when they have so many problems in their lives, children are their best shot at happiness, right? And they provide the best they can do to children. But when you say that you know what, have this bank account and have this number of money that you can put, the problem is a, if they put like 2000 or whatever amount of money, they could rather have used it for like healthcare, education, and other purposes. But understand this 2000, 3000, whatever is never ever going to like be secure for the child enough when they turn 18. Which less number of money, like even this like 5000 will never be able to be enough for them to have a good shot at their life, right? But secondly, what you are doing here is you're also like blocking their money away of this minority group, of this like very vulnerable state of group where they have to like meet their needs, their daily survival needs. You're also saying that you cannot never use this money that you earned, by the way, you cannot even use this money for your child's healthcare at this point, which is to say that your child will be able to use it only when they're 18. But what if they never be able to turn 18? Or what if there is so malnutrition because of it that they'll never be able to reach a place in life where they are able to use this money? Hence you're blocking away their money, which is so important for the survival needs. This is why there should be no preconditioning to attach to like childhood and parenthood, which you try to prove like for child security, because it will never happen. But what counter model we give to you? Why all of these things can be achieved, but not with the gov's policy. We tell you that instead of this, government should do is they should give like other more tax benefits, incentives, awareness. They should like spread with campaign. They should make people understand the reason to opting child security. And when they give this like food and healthcare and all of these other incentives to these poor people, to a vulnerable group of people, to this middle class people, they have this incentive to know about child security, child future security, and their freedom. They have this way, and here it will be more like the choice, which is to say if I opt in to make a savings account for my child, it will be my choice, because now understanding the concept of it, also buying into the benefit that the government is giving, now I'll open up a savings account by my own choice and by my own understanding. But understand why preconditioning is definitely cutting away my choice, because it is hampering a person's short of happiness of the child, of the parent itself. This is why it will not be future, it will not be like good in like gov's paradigm. This is why we say to you how child will never be like happy, and the benefit that you try to give is worse off. But here in our paradigm with this counter model also, this will all happen, and the more likability and better possibility of happening, because when you precondition it, you make all of the harms come to you, which again I'll push to you what are the harms. Because understand, number one, the psychological and needs of the parents and thing. Understand, when all of this is happening, you're taking a like literal, like you're attacking the vulnerable people, you're not attacking the people who cannot have this savings account, which is very morally and ethically wrong. Because understand, when they are so like ruined by the history and so ruined by the hierarchy present in the society, they should have at least some sort of like they should not be even blocked away from having a child, or they should not be burdened. Because understand, a middle class also has a lot of like problems. They have to like have a health insurance, like education, like all of the burden they have on the child. Now again with the savings account, their burden will be increased. Now this will become a problem for them. Why you have to increase the burden of the parent? We already proved to you how this child security, attaining this future security, is so unlikable in the govs, will never be achieved, because the money that you try to give is never going to be received because of the vulnerable group. And about the middle class, understand, if they already have this financial knowledge, it's all they're going to open the savings account. But in our paradigm, awareness is always there, but preconditioning is being removed, which is always better, because then it feels like more like choice. more like their choice, and there will be no backlash. Third impact we try to draw from here is the backlash of the people will be here, because understand, any point of time when people are told that you have to have do it by the government, that every time like I buy like chips, I have to pay GST, all of these taxes is happening, I have to pay income tax, I have to do so many things by the government that tells me to, right? I have to like have Aadhaar card linked and everything. But the point of time where my even like I have to give birth to a child, I have to have like increase like raise my family and like increase my uh, whole heritage and everything. What you are trying to do is you are preconditioning even on that. So this one thing that I had, this one thing in a middle class person had this society of like giving birth to a child, that is a condition by the government on that also. This is why this backlash will happen in the media by the people. This is why it will not result in good thing. Why backlashing is wrong, why backlashing is problematic, how this will grow up is because people will now like not accept government's policies, they will not like regulate it, they will not follow this policy. It will become a burden on the government. Now government will not be able to like regulate and follow up the policy if this is going like how this will be maintained. It will incur a lot of pressure on the people, that will like marches, there will a lot of negative things on the government done by this, and hence it will not be followed up rightly. Before moving on, yes, PY.
So you said marginalized communities often have children which they do not, a lot of children which they do not have the resources to support. So is it not better if they cannot even pay this comprehensive account according to their income bracket, that they are a little discouraged? It would be good that they are a little discouraged from having children. Is it that not good?
Okay, I think you overtimed yourself. Yeah, sure. So first of all, let me tell you that it is so ethically and morally wrong that you are trying to like discourage marginal community only to don't have child. Why they should have child? Why they should have a bigger population? Why middle class and every like for one person should have like a number of babies they can? But why are you like targeting like the marginal community not have child? That's their best shot at happiness. And understand, it's not like they are not able to like provide like anything that they want to. They'll be able to have like ends meet to the child. They are providing like giving them education, like to sending them to government school and everything, basic healthcare. But here it will be like more like they do not have extra money to like go and save up their account. They're able to make the ends meet, but they're not able to like do extreme like enough money to like put money enough money in their savings account. Okay, coming on to the third point about how backlashing will be problematic, because understand, government will never be able to like follow up the policy, which is to say, what if you do not like make a savings account? How will this government? What will government will then do? Will like if you do not have a savings account and you do have a child, will they take away the child? Will they provide you like more harms? I do not understand how the government will be able to follow this process. At the point of time, they're not able to follow this policy and follow up how the policy is regulated. They'll never be able to get benefit that the gov tries to with their let's make that argument to anything. That thank you.
I will start in 30 seconds. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are audible, just a little louder, if
Okay,
that's
okay.
possible.
Hello. Hello, myself Amanali. I will go as a government whip and my pronouns are he, him. And I will take PY up to fourth minute mark and starting on self count to 3, 2, 1. Panel, I would like to begin my speech by presenting you the key points mentioned from our side. So, panel, why we believe this motion stand is because the point presented by us that why trust fund is very important is because it provides a standardized pathway with the government assurance for the betterment of children. Every parents want a better future for their children, but they are unaware of how can it be done. And this way, with the assurance of a government and the policy made by the people, by the persons who are pioneers in this field, will give them a pathway which will allow them to prepare a better future for their child. Second, we in our policy we provide the offline station where where the parents can reach for any query and to understand about what trust fund is, because we know that because we know in India, how the lack of knowledge people have regarding the financial education. Offline center will to help them to become a financial knowledgeable, and 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 it also saves parents from the dilemma of lack of financial knowledge and the short-term mindset that parents usually have. Parents think about the coming 2 3 years and never about the future. And this also prevent some faction of parents who still don't have the wisdom, and they try to save money for their wrong reason, as mentioned by in the PM speech and the DPM speech, how in rural area the parents are more focused on saving money for the daughter's marriage than after 5 minute mark. Then saving it when the daughter needed the most, which is after 18 years, when she have to decide about where to go for a college and at the college. And the point that you mentioned by the opposition, that it will be bad, this policy will be bad for the lower income person, but I think that's wrong. In our paradigm, we give the baseline value and the cap value of the trust funds, which will make it beneficial for the all financial classes. Baseline minimum value will be formed based on the family income of a family, which means if in very extreme cases, if family are living on their ends, are not able to meet their end, then they don't have to add money in the trust fund. But in case if their family wants to, they will trust fund will act as a straightforward path. And now let's come to the what the opposition has presented. According to them, then that people opt out from parenting because they think that the child care is a responsible is a means of, is very responsible. And I think that's the case. Bringing a child into this world is a very responsible, very responsible feat, and it should be taken in according to that. And this way parents will conceive a child only when they think that they can financially provide them a life which is better for them, and it will not act as a burden, but release them from the burden of extra thinking about what to do for the betterment of the children. And the point mentioned by the opposition, how that they have to think about the education and health and etc, etc. Yes, bringing parenting is a difficult thing, but you can simply is a difficult thing, and we have to think about the every faction of the parenting. Yes, they uh, have to think about providing the health care and the school and the education, but a safety net for the future is very important too. And the point presented by the opposition, that the government should intervene and provide us some kind of social security scheme. I don't think government can or should intervene in every matter, because I think you can't expect government to do everything for you. We can't expect the government to yes, PY, please.
Yes, you say that you should not expect government to do everything. Then why this preconditioning is happening, which is literally intervening in the life of parenting?
When we say the government should not intervene or government should not do everything, we mean that we can't think we can't expect government to solve every problem from their end. If their government is only providing them a method to fast track the a way to provide give them a pathway so that they can provide a better future for their child. So what I can think is, we government and opposition, what the government in their government wants is to provide a better future for the child, and I don't think, and I think it will not act as a burden. Thank you. That's all. Proud to do this.
Give me 30 seconds. I'll start. Cool. They're just going as op whip, POI preference after the 5th minute only, or I might just ask in between if I'm done. Pronouns he slash him. With yeah. With that being said, starting yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, starting my speech. Just give me 5 seconds. Yeah, cool. Starting my speech on the reverse. Starting my speech on the reverse count of three, two, one. Okay, panel. Let's summarize this debate and what are the important clashes in this debate. Okay, we come and tell you that these minorities that is there as classified by the government, that these minorities are getting affected. It's far better than our time. We come and tell you why this precondition is really really bad and how it goes against the very principles of this parents having a right to choice. Yeah, coming on to the next point, we what do we get from entirely from the government side? Firstly, they come and give this model that this parents have this tie-ups with this portals, etc. There is this dowry and other things that are spent on, but that is the point of the case, that is these parents have their own choice and the government shouldn't impose this precondition, as also given by the DLO, that the government has already imposed a lot of taxes and other things. This imposing this precondition is really really bad, and the government clearly, although they come and tell you, okay, it can save for the future, but they fail to explain. They had to explain why this precondition is far better than the parents actively doing themselves. The principled versus practical arguments, it's this imposing this precondition is not at all practical, and talking about the principles, it's already being violated, that these parents do not have this active choice. Coming on to yeah, I took the dowry argument, yeah, took that down. Yeah, coming on to the minorities, how are they better in our side? That is, what the government comes and tells us that these minorities are going to be better since they have this choice that is there, but when they are imposing a precondition, the right to choice is going away from them. That is, this government has this they're already so poor, so actively there is no kind of mechanism to check this, that is as already asked through the POI, that is this administrative challenges, how they are going to be tackled, how is this actively going to be carried out. um, and they come in, government comes and tells us that we have not characterized the social scheme that already came to the DLO, that is, rather than actively government intervening and actively telling people that they have to do this they have to put this money in this scheme that is there, rather than that, why not government clearly does not come and tell us how this, even if we consider that the case that the scheme is precondition is taken, they do not tell us how this unemployment and other healthcare that is solved, because that is currently existing and the status quo, and how that is solved, the government clearly does not give us a proper case on that. Coming on to the parents choice, that is, instead of this government intervening in these rights, in these like the money matter, that is parents should actively get involved, because a lot of these people that is the minorities, they actively do not have the financial incentive, and even if they do have, the government should not impose this precondition that is there on them. Rather, it should be based on the parents will, as already classified in the opening speeches of the opposition, that when you're talking about these parents as a whole, what do these parents do when they were talking about these parents have these children, they already have this burden, that is when the child is born, they have to take care of insurance, healthcare, other things that is there. Imposing this precondition, that is they have to get this certain amount of money, it has two major impacts. Firstly, what will happen, it will lead to this that is this consequences that is there. So there will be people that do not want to actually go in and go ahead and get this precondition that is there. So what will it do, people will go and they won't register their birth, so they will rather they'll go and not register the births of their children, they'll go and try to evade the law that is there, that is this precondition that is there. There will be this like stigma caused, that is these poor families, the children in this poor families that are there, they will obviously get affected by this. So that is there, and the basically the government's argument that this precondition it solve these problem, but the root cause is solving this not only this education and benefit of the child, but as already given by the DLO, that is the child might go not even live up to the age of 18. So the major problem, the core problem that must be solved, must be focused on, but not rather this precondition, that is you have to set up this child trust fund, and that is there, because obviously it leads to this intrusion of the state into their matters of the family. That is all they give this the dowry argument to us, but the very purpose, okay, even if the dowry is an exceptional case that does not happen a lot in current status quo, but even if we consider that, these parents have their active choice that is there, that the government does not mandate them to do something. That is the very purpose of these people having a choice. So that clearly goes against that clearly goes against the government's paradigm. But even if we take their case, what do we get from the whip that is there? Okay, the whip comes and tells us these governments, they are pioneers in their field. So they will end up, it will lead to this very utopian world that is there. All these problems will be solved, and um, all these problems that will be solved, this child will do well. But that is a very very extreme case that is there. We cannot, they need to give us a proper implementation mechanism that is there. Although they give us this different tiers of system that is there, it will already, we have already characterized you how these people, there will be people that will actively not incentivize themselves to this social this scheme that is there, that is financial scheme. They would obviously want to have not have this additional burden, but rather it would still be existing in our time, where this precondition is not, the children would actively be better in our paradigm. Because first of all, this precondition is not there, the parents will out of their own out of their own needs, they will actively be investing in the child's future. Obviously parents will like to establish that their child's future is good, so they will actively incentivize themselves, as opposed to the government's paradigm, where they are actively coming and having this precondition that is there, and precondition that is there, and this people must actively follow this precondition that is there, as also given by the DLO, that certain kind of taxes and other things are there. So actively having something else that is this precondition, it will further go against the very principles of these people having rights. Especially we are talking about these minorities, the gap that is there, that is okay, it might be beneficial to the people that have the money, but when you are talking about this, since you have characterized the main stakeholder, these people that do not have this money, they are the ones that are not incentivized, and they do not want to actively go ahead and follow this precondition that is there. So as I've already told you, the impacts that is have, they actively will go and try to evade this law that is there by the government. It will lead to this negative impacts, and this there will obviously be administrative challenges that are there, that is this implementation of this social secure of this financial scheme that is there, that is allotting the child trust fund, having this precondition that is there, how it will actively go ahead and actively benefit the child. That clearly does not happen, because this child, we need to understand, just because it's small, having this fund, it is at smaller levels, how it actively turns out to be, what are the long-term impacts that is there. So the government clearly does not come and give us that. So in conclusion, why would we like this precondition not to be there? Because it not only goes against the principles of these parents, but also it has this burden on them. Thus, with that, I would like to state that precondition is not likely to happen, and with that, proud to oppose.
Yeah, or reply. Just 10 seconds. Yeah, Anisha going as op reply. Starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. It is very important that we both understand that yes, child and parents both matter in this society. Vulnerable parents who have money, who shouldn't be opposed by the government, who shouldn't be intervened by government, are also so like should be that the state should be so maintained that it is very important that every policy that goes into the society also is able to maintain that. Now, understand, panel. I'll first take tackle with what the gov says. The gov's argument is simple: that you want long-term thing, you want financial choice for the this children when they grow to 18, and you also want where child is better off. But the problem here is that yes, we agree with all the impacts are important, but you never give me enough reasons to buy how this will happen on your side when you have this policy. You simply say that it will happen because it will be like 100% precondition, so it will just happen and it is good. But this is not how society and utopian the world is. Because number one, we completely come here and say that without this, also all these impacts can be attained better and nicer in a more better way. Because first, if you do not have precondition, rather you spread awareness campaigns, you spread like incentives, tax incentives, all of those things, there is a much better chance that people will take it in a more better form. The right of choice and is important. We tell you how this marginal community are so historically like are not benefited, are so like these poor people are always getting the worst out of the society. And this is why the short of child that having a child is the best thing for them, and this is why government should not intervene here. Because if government wants to attain this child security, they first of all should maintain all the healthcare and education for these people so much. We give you how all of those things are more should be more prioritized. Secondly, we give you how without like gov's policy it is better for all this child also. We tackle how child is more worse off in their condition, because this will impact will never be led on to that. Because a parents will always come and backlash, because parents do not want government again to intervene in the future of where they have to give birth to a child. Because when I have to raise my own family, why would I as a parent would accept government's burden? Because at the point of time, my right of choice, my right of freedom is taken away from me. I'll always oppose this. This is why I give you an impact of backlash of the people will always happen. This backlash of people happen. Now, what could it lead to? It could lead to them not accepting this policy, them going into marches, and we give to you how this would be a problem in regulating and following of this policy if this is maintained. So we give to you in our speeches how this government will never be able to follow up, which is to say that somebody like takes up if somebody has gives a birth and never puts up a savings account, what will government then be do? Will they take up the child? Will they put them like more in jail? Or what will they? Whatever they will do, it will not be accepted by the society. Hence, if people do not accept the policy, their impacts, their drawing of impacts of child security will never happen in gov's paradigm. But what happens in ops paradigm on comparative, we tell you how it's better if you just spread awareness and everything. People will understand the security factor. People will make parents will have this choice, and parents will understand it will have some impact at least, and this some impact is better than none, which is in gov's paradigm present at this point of time. We give to you how it will be better for the parent in terms of security, in terms of their like choice and everything. And secondly, it's better for the child, because when parents by their choice does this for their child, it will always be better, because now they'll be able to reap benefits out of it, which is never happening on the gov's paradigm. Also, we tell you how these vulnerable and poor people will never be, you're like blocking away their money, which is so important. Because like if I could put this money into like my home, or like give like more education, give like provide more better food, more quality like things to my child, why should a government tell me to like block it away and put this in my bank? Because I will never be able to use this money. What like I will as an individual never be able to understand, will never be able to like get this point of it like taking my money when my child is 18. Because if this I won't accept it as a people won't accept it, your policy will never be maintained and government will never be able to follow up. This is the reason we prove to you why preconditioning is so wrong and so empirically non-result. It will never be able to harder results. This is why you should maintain the right of choice in our paradigm. This is why you should just do awareness and provide incentives on our paradigm, which is why our side completely wins, because we give to you like more financial security, and all of those impacts still have some impact on our side. But also parents are not wrong. Ethically and morally it's never wrong. With that, thank you.
Yeah, I'll just take 30 seconds. Yes. Yeah, okay. So I'll start at the self count of 3, 2, and 1. Panel understand what the opposition has been trying and screaming about in their whole case. It is two things mainly: the burden and autonomy. Now, let me come to the burden first of all. Now, let me tell you how solely they have been exaggerating the burden and the kind of pressure that would be upon these parents. Because, as we have stated, it would in accordance and be comprehensive enough to be according to inflation as well as the income brackets of the families themselves. Now, we do admit to the fact that there will be some pressure, but how this pressure is actually much beneficial for the people and the parents, rather than being a negative thing that has been that the opposition tries to look at like. Now, why? Now, where does this pressure fall upon? It mainly falls upon the EWS or the marginalized communities who may not be as financially well off as the other people. Now, this little pressure would actually help these communities make smarter decisions. Because why they often tend to have children which they do not have enough resources to support and give a good life to, and make provide that child with a happy life. And this pressure would actually would actually make them aware of the responsibilities and make them responsible parents, and make them aware of the responsibilities that they have towards a child, instead of just having children just for the sake of it. And in the case that they choose to have children because they think that they are financially they can be a part of the scheme, this they would it would help them be more it would help them have a smarter savings for their children's future. And it would actually help these marginalized communities in the long run, because now there is a chance to break out of that poverty cycle. Because if their parents, for example, would have saved some money for them and for their future, maybe they would not have been in such a financially weaker state right now, as they are putting that as it would help prevent putting their children through. Now, the opposition also talks about the better usage of this money elsewhere. However, they again talking about how they have been exaggerating the kind of money that we're demanding from people. People still have some they still have funds to allocate in their child's healthcare and education up and but it what this scheme does is it helps inculcate a sense of saving, and a sense of saving that they need to do for their children in a country like this, where this sense is not present. And it tells them that saving is not actually an option. And this is why I come to the precondition thing that they have been talking about again and again, and why should not be a precondition. Actually, it is the most efficient way to have people to have a bigger turnout in schemes like this, and have a bigger turnout in terms of saving, because people are more likely to opt into this. Because as we said, the economically weaker section may and all of these people who are not likely to opt into it would have a short term vision for their children rather than a long term, and hence this precondition is very important. Talking upon the autonomy fact that they keep bringing up, what is autonomy? What is autonomy for a parent? A parent wants to be autonomous enough to choose the type of parenting style and upbringing they want for their kids. Autonomy is not having the choice to not save for their kid. That is not something that the parents will be too much concerned about, that autonomy is being taken away. Now, some of the substantives that went unrebutted from our case and tried to be very unfairly mitigated, first of all, the dowry and the short-term goals and the marriage and all the wrong reasons that people save for their kids. This is not at all an uncommon thing to happen, and the whip came in and said it does not happen a lot. Let me tell you, it happens as per our characterization in a country like India a lot. It does, where there is a patriarchy existing and all of this happening. People do have wrong incentives to save. Now, and another substantive that went unrebutted is having the standardized trustworthy scheme and having a long-term vision for their children. Now, what their main points went out to be, what was that alternate solutions will exist, because but these are not enough mechanized, whereas we are presenting to you a very efficient and effective scheme, as we have proved for this, and this precondition being a very inherent part of this and very important part of the scheme, because it turns into more opt-in, and it will not create a sense of stigma, because people are likely to see the importance of this saving for their kids now that the government has come in and stepped in to implement it, and how important it must be for for them to do it. Now, parents, is my time up? Because the timer is not going on. Okay, so I'll go on. Talking about parents opting out of parenthood because of this. Well, we see that this is a comprehensive plan, and this is very necessary for the kids. So if a person opts out of it just because of this, then maybe they are not financially well off, and they need to reevaluate their decision to having kids in the first place. Thank you.
Hi, thank you guys for the debate. Just give us 8 minutes. We'll be ready with the OAs. Sanvi will be going first. After that, I'll be giving my OA. Sanvi, after 8 minutes, once you have your verdict, just DM me your verdict. All right?
Sure.
Okay. Also, who were the reply speakers? Could you just give your names?
Yeah,
From the
Anisha went
Gov,
as
I
op.
was the reply speaker, Nehal.
Okay, and all?
Anisha went as op.
All right.
Nimisha, I've sent it on your Discord if you can see once.
Yeah, I'm just checking. Give me a minute. Yep, got it. Thank you. Just take 8 minutes and you can start with your OA and let me know when once you're done with your OA, I'll come and give my OA.
Okay, sure.
Can I start if that's okay with everyone? Nimisha? Nimisha, I would like to start if that's okay. I think she's gone. Is everybody here? Hello, am I audible? Can someone tell me if I'm audible?
Yes, you're audible.
So are all the teams here? Both the teams here?
Gov is here.
Op is the complete team here?
One member from the op is here.
Can you call your team because I will start and I'll end it quickly.
Priyanshu is here. If we can call this team.
Yeah, they are just joining.
Okay, cool. Guys, it is time, so
Can the runner contact the opposition?
I'm sorry, you're very talkative.
Never mind. Nisha is here from opposition. Uh, is the rest of your team also joining, or can we go ahead with the OA?
Yeah, just wait for a minute.
okay, sure. Anisha, we are already very behind on schedule. Could you?
Yeah. I guess you can go on. They're just joining. You can go on.
Okay, I'll start then. Okay, so great debate, guys. So there are a few things I failed to understand during the debate was when the status quo was not status quo. I'm so sorry. When the stakeholders were the both parents and the child in the situation, I fail to understand why the opposition did not focus on the child and kept talking about how this is going to hinder the parents' right and parents' independence somewhere, but nobody questioned how this would benefit the child or disadvantage the child, considering they as well were the stakeholders in the situation. Secondly, Elo initially said that in the there was no characterization given by the PM, and then continues to agree about the characterization given by the PM about how, it is about the whole status quo is about economically weaker people, middle class people, and a country like India. So disagreeing with it and then contradicting your own point, it's something I still didn't understand how that worked out for you. Another thing was the upbringing point. I think it was questioned even by the government side, but the upbringing point was not very clear to me. It was not clearly, like, it was a good point. I could understand where the point came from, but it was not properly elaborated on and focused on. So that is something I see it didn't connect with the debate properly, because we were talking in terms of financial, and then we went on to talk about how, it will hinder the upbringing of the child. However, then you guys didn't properly tell me how it will hinder the upbringing of the child, considering, how this manages like the growth of the child or aspiration of the parents. These words were used in the debate, so I still don't understand those. Secondly, okay, so opposition said how parenthood is a choice and it can be because of the societal pressures. That was a very good point, but then the rebuttal we got about it from the PM side was that, they should reconsider parenthood if they cannot even take out a little amount of money for the child's future. We still kept on talking about how parenthood is still hindered and they won't be choosing parenthood. So when this rebuttal was given, I don't think that point became strong. Like, the point was not strong enough to keep talking about in the next DLO speeches and the whip speeches and the reply as well. And I will be up for questions in the next 1 minute, because I don't have a lot to say. I just have a few things in my mind. Secondly, so the DLO talked about how, the savings account would be better. And I think it was more of an error when she was speaking in. I'm sorry, I don't know who was the DLO. When the person, I'm sorry for the pronouns, when the person was speaking, but they they were saying how, instead of preconditioning, because you emphasized on the fact that it was a precondition. So you talked about how instead of a precondition, we should have an optional savings account. But towards the end, there was an error where you said that if a person does not have a savings account, how does the government deal with that? So I think you wanted to say the precondition account or the precondition scheme, but you end up saying savings account, and I think that created an issue for me to make a note of. All the points from because I feel this was like both ways. The whole government side was talking in terms of long term schemes, like how the long term benefits are, and the opposition was talking in terms of how it was in the short term, how there will be an issue, and government was talking in terms of long term. So there was no match where you guys were fighting on, because you guys were saying how in the short term there will be backlash, there will be media, there will be malnutrition, there will be survival issue, but the government is continuously talking about in the future this will be an helpful thing. So I feel like that time period like specification was lacking somewhere. Like we were not on the same level when we were talking about the benefits and the harms. I think most of these were that only, but one another thing was how backlash and regulation will be an issue. I didn't understand that part. I think that is all I can think of. I'll take any questions you guys have.
None from the op.
Yeah, Anish, you can go on.
What was the verdict? Like, which side are you giving the debate to?
Government.
Right. And what was the MOV according to you?
I'm sorry, give me the full form.
MOV is margin of victory, like close to clear or clear.
So I was not supposed to be giving scorings because I'm a trainee.
All right, no issues.
So that's why I'm not giving. I'm a trainee, so I'm not supposed to fill the ballot. Okay, so I'll just text Nimisha to come and I'll leave. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, is the OA done?
Yes.
All right. Just give me a second. I have to set up my desk. Yep. Hope I'm audible and visible clearly. All right. Just confirming both the teams here.
Government is present.
Or
Yes, op is also present.
all right. Cool. Starting with my OA timer. Starting my OA in 3, 2, 1. All right. I'll be starting off right with the verdict. The call of the House is it's a unanimous government win. For me, it was a close margin. Right. Before I move on to my clashes or justification, some bits and pieces of feedback, general feedback. Just give me a minute. Hi, I'm sorry. Just resuming the timer. All right. I was on the general feedback regarding the debate in itself. I felt there was a lot of analysis mechanism and largely direct responses. Both the teams went on running their parallel cases. GUP was about how it helps a child. OP was about how it helps the parents. Both the teams did not engage um, why is one side more important, or why do we care about a particular actor more than the other side, right? So if you're going ahead and telling me, oh, you know what, parents opting out of parenthood is something bad, you need to go ahead and weigh it out against the other team's claim as well. Otherwise, sure, it makes sense in isolation, but if I have to see it as an adjudicator, I have to go ahead and look out for the implicit pieces of weighing through the POIs or through some rebuttals, etc., right? Which makes adjing a bit difficult. All right. Uh, a few important clarifications. These are this is something this is something which would matter very much in the clash itself. One, who is the more important stakeholder, right? Government goes ahead and tells me, you know what, we care about the child more. Op comes and tells me we care about parents' happiness or whether they are stressed or not, etc. Right? Both of them are fair in their place. So why do I give it to Gov's characterization? Because in government, in their deputy speech, they give me a logical priority, right? The child's life needs to be valued. I'm sorry for that filter. I don't know why iPad does that. Yeah. In deputy, I get a logical priority that, you know what, this child is a new life which is coming in this world because of the because, and parents have the responsibility for that. Parents are the direct decision makers for that, and henceforth it's a responsibility of the parents to make sure that this new life is supported and well nurtured, etc. Right? Henceforth, given that Gov, through their implicit and analysis, are able to give me a sort of logical priority of why should I care about the child more. Hence, any argument about why parents matter or why parents' happiness matter, which OP is giving me, doesn't stand until and unless OP can come and weigh for me why their parents' happiness or their right to have a child, have a child weighs over right to having a good life, right? So essentially, the weighing comes down the right to life versus right to having a certain choice. Given that OP never weighs it out, I have to go ahead and give it on the basis of logical priority, which Gov has established for me. Right. Next piece of characterization which I buy is about how these countries which we are talking about, this policy mainly affects these economically weaker sections of the society, right? Why is this important for the debate? It's important because this piece of characterization makes me believe that no matter what happens, these particular people are going to go ahead and have children because of the societal pressure. Given that this is already established, now as an edge, I have to look for is where are these children well protected or uh, better served on either side of the house, right? Now, moving on to the clashes. First clash is going to be about where is the child better off. The second clash is going to be about the parent suffering, given that it was discussed in the debate. The reason I'm prioritizing the child, I have already stated why child was the major stakeholder in today's debate. Now, I have divided the first clash into three sub clashes. You can call it whatever you want to. One about the health, two about the education or the general quality of life, and lastly about the parent-child relationship, what is the parent's attitude towards the child, right? Firstly, about health. OP claims that, you know what, on side government, these children won't be able to live till 18 as Gov is trying to portray, because parents won't be able to spend whatever little money they have on basic healthcare, etc. Right? So why does this make them lose to government? One, government is able to co-opt this very idea when they come and say if parents don't have the bare minimum, then they won't be then they probably shouldn't go ahead and have children, right? That simply means that if you're not able to support a life, you shouldn't let that child suffer. That means you shouldn't make that decision which brings that life into the world. As simple as that. This simply means that outside government, people would now be making an informed decision. What does that informed decision look like? That is, you bring a life into the world only when you're capable of bringing it. Otherwise, the life just suffers as portrayed by the gov. But the second reason why your alternate mechanization is helping the child achieve this particular health, etc. Right? You never prove to me that you never proved to me that even in these initial days, these parents would be able to sustain their children, right? These parents would be able to provide for the basic healthcare, right? So you cannot just claim that, oh, the impacts don't happen on side government. You also have to show that the very impacts which you're claiming don't happen on gov happen on your side, happen on your side by the medium of let's say the government policies. Just stating that, oh, government will take care of it isn't enough. You have to tell me how these government policies come into action, how these government policy would be enough to provide for all the children, how they trickle down to children, right? Because on government has already given me a certain policy, which is, oh, we establish a fund and that fund's money directly goes to children. On OP, I don't know what policies or schemes would you be implementing and how will they be able to help the children. That's the first clash. Second clash about the education or the general quality of the life. Here is where the characterization is very important, because government has very clearly established that why these parents cannot afford or plan a decent life. And
also concedes to this very fact when op comes and tells me that, oh, these people are vulnerable and they cannot secure enough money for the fund itself, right? These people cannot spend money on their immediate needs, right? Which makes me believe that probably these parents aren't the best providers if they cannot give the bare minimum which Gov is asking for through the medium of this fund. Gov wins this particular clash about education slash life, better quality of life, purely on the basis of utility, because they can give better facilities, better choice, prevent particular cases of dowry, etc. Right? Why does ops claim about these people, about this model not working out, doesn't really stand in this debate? Because you never engage with the fact that government has already modified and modeled and stated the fact that they will be stating out caps according to the income backgrounds. You never engage with the fact, so it's difficult for an ash to understand the assertion which you make on side opposition, that you know what, these poor people won't be able to afford these funds, when Gov has clearly stated that it would be adjusted according to their income limits. But secondly, understand, there was a POI which was asked that, oh, this would never happen. This is a THW debate. THW motions give government the fiat to go ahead and execute the plan. That is, this plan would happen. So you don't have to argue whether this plan would happen or not. You have to argue whether the plan is good or not, right? But also, I'm not sure, one, on side opposition, how these immediate needs are fulfilled. But also, secondly, let's say I buy ops claim in the worst case scenario that, oh, somehow you're able to provide for the immediate needs where the parents spend on their children, etc., and provide healthcare. I'm not sure why should I let parents destroy their lives when Gov is giving me a simple opt-out mechanism that parents shouldn't just have kids, they should have them when they're ready, right? This is the very crucial weighing which was lacking in the debate, and it would have been a very engaging debate if this was established. The last subclash is about the parent-child relationship. Op claims there would be resentment because of additional financial burden. Gov engages well with this claim, where they talk about how these poor families, they would still be having children, and that resentment is still going to exist because they cannot support these children, right? Because they're poor. Now Gov flips this particular clash when they tell me that on their side resentment actually reduces because parents only opt into this when they're capable of, or financially capable of doing this, and hence that resentment factor which op is claiming actually reduces. The last clash, it's not a clash, but because there wasn't any engagement on this particular clash, is about parent suffering, right? The idea of how a lot of parents would be opting out of parenthood and how minorities are being targeted, right? Why does this not stand in the debate? One, you never tell me why opting out of parenthood is a bad thing, because Gov has clearly told me that when you opt out of parenthood, you get a certain delta on their side. What is that delta? The delta is you're able to protect the new lives from getting destroyed. I don't see what is the delta on side opposition. If your delta is that, oh, we are able to give parents some sort of arbitrary choice, please go ahead and weigh out that why that arbitrary choice matters more for both the stakeholders, especially for the important stakeholder, because I think even OP concedes in their reply speech that both the stakeholders are important, right? Why does it matter over a new life being spoiled? And this is something called out by government a lot of times, that it's okay if they are opting out of parenthood. That was something which Gov was never defending. Gov is okay with the idea of opting out of parenthood of people not going for becoming parents that much, if it is able to protect some new lives getting destroyed. I hope that's clear. Any questions on the OA, ask.
Yeah, from op. Okay, so first of all, I think we did engage with child. I'll tell you how. So first of all, when they said about the cap thing, right? If
Sorry,
we
wait,
tell,
sorry, just cutting you off. What did you engage with exactly?
yeah, when we told you that even if there's minority people have this cap of providing, like, say, 2,000 rupees, this will never be able to secure the child. So this benefit is never like getting to the child as such. And secondly, we
Okay,
tell you how.
part by part, just part by part. Firstly, about the cap. government's idea about the cap is that there isn't going to be some absolute money that you have to pay. It's like, let's say, if for a rich person, the money which you have to secure to become a parent is 10,000. For a poor person, it would be according to their income bracket. Let's say if my income is 5K, just giving you an example, if my income is 5K, then the minimum amount of I need to go ahead and afford a child is 2K. And if ops claim is that, you know what, these people wouldn't be able to secure that bare minimum claim, then that's what government's idea is, right? If you cannot secure the bare minimum amount which is set according to your income bracket, how would you be able to sustain this particular life by providing it with the
Hold.
bare
Can I ask? Yeah. If
Just
this
let
amount
me.
will be,
one by one?
Priyanshu, sorry, yeah, I have to finish first. Okay, so
I
okay,
just
then if
want to
that's the case,
extend this.
Priyanshu, like, yeah, I think if that's the case, then when we tell you that these people, how are you like marginal community? Why should you like stop them from parenting? Because why should only rich be focusing on population and all those things?
Fair. Correct. I think this is something I stated in my last class as well. Your idea of giving these marginal or minorities the right to bear children is correct. It's fair. The reason it doesn't stand is because the opposite claim which government gives me is the right to life. The right to life is about these new lives who did not like whose decisions or whose what do you say the decision to come into this world is being taken by these parents. The parents are the major decision makers, right? So that comes logically prior to the right to choice, right? The right to choice of any other individual is like, how can you let a parent how can you let an individual decide for another individual who has not even come into this world, when you know the outcome is going to be their life would be destroyed because they cannot provide for certain things? That's the idea.
Okay.
That's the idea. Like, this is something that's why before I started my classes I stated it very clearly that your idea about right to choice is fair, but it makes sense only in isolation. If you wanted to win, you have to go ahead and weigh out why this right to choice for these minorities weighs over the right to life of some other kids who are yet to be born. Maybe you can do the same. Oh, these minorities have been marginalized for over the years, these minorities would never have a say, etc., right? Like, just showing some sort of obligation why any other right or any other delta in the debate doesn't matter, because these minorities have been wrong for their entire life, etc. So just it needs a lot more work than you're saying right now. Go ahead if you have any questions.
Yeah, also you say that you cannot question the feasibility of THW, but the problem is we agree this policy would be implemented, but the result of it will tell you how backlash would happen. This is why this policy will never be like follow up, and it will not like largely be able to get any impact.
See, when I say that the feasibility, what I simply mean is that when you say this policy about putting a sort of a cap whether these people want to, what do you say, have a child or not, government has the flag to say that they would be able to implement this policy. Coming to the backlash, I don't think the point about backlash was specifically to this policy. As far as I understood from the debate, your idea about backlashes was about how when you put these backlashes, people won't abide to other policies, right? Again, why does that matter in the debate? Sure, let people backlash, let people go ahead and do any sort of negative destruction, etc. How is it affecting the danger to the lives of the kids, or how does it affect the other lives who are being impacted right now? That is the same problem. I think your argument about the argument about parents' right to autonomy, etc., that is a way stronger argument than that backlash argument. So yeah, that's why I didn't cover it in the clash, because I felt the major push from opposition was about parents' autonomy, etc. Just a piece of feedback or on case constructive.
I have a question.
Maybe you could have just run the case about how this these
Can I ask a question?
just let me complete it.
Yeah.
Because you said you in your speeches you talked about how these minorities should have the right. Just frame it like these minorities have been wronged to their entire life, how there is this poverty cycle in the society which doesn't allow them to get out of it, and the only happiness which these minorities can get is through this like sense of parenthood, etc., right? And frame it this way, that the reason these minorities cannot achieve parenthood, it's because the majority, etc., the capitalistic society has pushed them down to this level, right? So they cannot say that the government, which already has a representation of majority, take away their right to have that sense of self-actualization or sense of happiness. Frame it like that, and then your argument would be stronger.
Okay.
Priyanshu, go ahead.
To own that, if your idea is this, for the minority community, they will expand their expenditure, their spending, or they will save the bare minimum. First, they how, if this is bare minimum, it will be helpful for the child. So if you are telling me that the 2,000 rupees, if you save per year in after 18 years 36,000, do you really think 30 from 36,000 it is at any point child can get any sort of services, because inflation is there even in there? So how this bare minimum will be helpful? Does they ever tell you? And if you are telling me even if it won't be bare minimum, parents have to sacrifice, why they have to sacrifice their aspiration when it was their right to give birth to their child? And if please deal with it, and after that other questions, how this bare minimum works, it is
First,
helpful for the child.
it's not your government who will be dealing with it. I am an adjudicator. I am giving an OA
So
here.
you are telling me the bare minimum is will you weigh out more?
Please be respectful. First of all, I'm not going to tolerate any sense of disrespect here. You're asking questions. I'm sitting here after a delay of 30 minutes because of a logistical issue which I wasn't aware of. I don't deserve this sort of disrespect after sitting here for a debate, trying to agit, giving feedback. At least be respectful while asking a question. If you cannot, then please, I'm not going to entertain any sort of questioning. I am an adjudicator. I'm not your colleague or your batchmate or something. And I'm going to file an equity on this.
Really sorry if you felt like that, but I was asking how you weigh this out.
No, your attitude and your tone didn't sound that.
No, really sorry if you felt, but I was asking you, tell me na ki you weigh out more the idea of child, having a child is more important than the free happiness of parents. So
Yeah,
that,
okay. You know what? I'm going to explain you the model. I'll break you down for it, how these trust funds work, if that's what you want me to. Sure. You know, when a trust fund is formed, they expect you to put some money into the fund, which is going to come to your children when they grow 18, as what Cuff characterizes. When you put a certain amount of money into the fund, let's say I am putting 800 into the fund, that means that I have some additional income which I can use to sustain my family. It doesn't mean, funds never mean that I'm going to put 100% of my income into the fund just to build the fund in itself. When the idea fund is that you're going to put some money in the fund, and when you are able to put that some amount of money into the fund, you sort of give that signal that you have a more amount of income in your bank which can be used to sustain your family, which can be used to sustain your other livelihood. You can just simply relate it to the idea that this how savings and expenditure work, right? You are allowed to go ahead and spend money on luxury items like chocolates, etc., which only when you have the bare minimum salary or bare minimum savings, which you can use for your important needs like medicine or healthcare, etc., right? So if a person is going ahead and spending on luxury items, that simply means that they have enough backup savings in their bank account to go ahead and spend on other important things. The point at which I cannot go ahead and put that token amount in the bank, which signifies that I have enough income in my bank balance. How do you expect these families to go ahead and nurture the kids? As simple as that.
and second question, wasn't this was the contradiction in their case when they are first telling you that child is most important, to actually have a child. It is really replenishing. You have to do a welfare of child. It is a primary responsibility of parent. And on that, secondly, when we give the how minority can't afford to have this fund, they tell the minority shouldn't have child. So they contradict when they're saying child is most important, and other time you
No,
don't have child if you
understand,
are
understand.
not responsible.
Listen to me. I got your question. When they say the child is more important, they are referring that the child's life is more important. Let's say if a new child is born into the society, it's important that the child